Well, officially open.
Yeah, because someone tried to play it during the holidays at home.
And then you switch it off.
You can't do that. Because it puts us into
a mode, into a
work mode.
Political mode.
Yeah, so want to be relaxed. We had a nice one.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's good that we're talking straight after your NPA. There was a lot of hype towards the NPA, and I wanted us to just look at a little bit of your political report. I want to start there. You lamented that there was no engagement on the theory. You spent an hour on Marxism and Leninism and so on. And a lot of people are thinking, is this going above their heads and so on, or is it now a political school? And what was that all about? Why did you feel the need to do that? Right? Yeah, is 11 years old. Assumption is all the members are clear that this is a Marxist organization, etc. Did you feel, right, that maybe they haven't grasped that adequately? Number one. Number two, in your political report, you say something like, there are some pseudo-Marxists who, who are actually petty bourgeois who don't do this. Were you referring there to people inside the EFF, or was it just a general statement that refers to others who are pretenders to the left, in a sense?
Well, I think correctly captured, you're saying it's a political report, so therefore it has to deal with politics and its founding manifesto and its founding principles. The EFF are based on Marxism, Leninism, and Fanon. And you ought to use those ideologies to remind members of who they are, what they've joined. And it's something that you do it consistently. You don't just do it once and say, no, it's 11 years, they know. Because if not revisited, a political consciousness leaves you. And when it leaves you, it doesn't say goodbye. So from time to time, we ought to inculcate the culture of politics. We ought to teach them about Lenin. We ought to teach them about Fanon. Lenin, particularly on organization and what kind of a revolutionary organization you want to form. And then Fanon, more emphasis on race. And the post-colonial regimes that have taken place in Africa and continued business as usual, pretending to be revolutionaries, black consciousness and Pan-Africanism. So it's very important that they appreciate that, because you'll have a member of the EFF saying, we don't want these Zimbabweans. Yet he belongs to a party that subscribes to Fanon, and Fanon that emphasizes on the black unity, African unity, that we are all subjects of colonialism. Then you have to go and deal with Marx, especially on the theory of dialectics, because that's where you teach people that change and conflict, they will not always be producing a negative thing. Change and conflict can actually produce something revolutionary.
Can move you forward.
So it is the contradictions that are actually going to produce that which is required by the revolution. So the three laws of dialectics are very important, because they equally equip even ordinary members on problem solving. Once you are well equipped with such, you don't struggle to deal with any other dynamic of life that comes your way. So, and I think I've got an appreciation that the members of the EFF understood the message very well, because if you listen to them and you follow them up in their commissions, they were all moving in that direction.
That's what I wanted to ask them. Did you find that they applied those principles in generating an outcome for the NPA?
Absolutely. They were using those principles, so they knew that we cannot...
Even at the lowest level, or lowest rank.
We are favored by, history, because we are joined in the main relatively by young people who have the most basic skills of reading and writing. They may not be that grounded on those theoretical questions.
Yes.
But they have an idea of what is the leadership talking about. And then we go, and after they've spoken, we'll then polish everything else. At least they are telling you what they want.
Yeah.
You polish it and put it in a manner that will be acceptable. So the quality of the EFF leaders is too much. You can't match it with anyone. You've got people who are hungry to learn. You've got people who are hungry to work. You've got people who are ready to defend their organization wherever it is attacked, politically, ideologically, or otherwise. They are consistently ready. I mean, there was a point where I was tempted to issue an order that they must leave Twitter, because it looked like they didn't go on holidays. The way they were attacking left, right, and center on Twitter, defending their own organization, I was like, can't they go and rest a bit, because we still have more fights, more work to do. Battles to
in your assessment of the 11 years, is there somewhere when you look behind now, you do an assessment, right, where the EFF lost its way in as far as ideological grounding is concerned, in terms of either positions that you took, the conduct of your members, or certain members who maybe fell off the bandwagon? I mean, I'm not even talking about the ones now. We're going to talk about those later, like the Andilem Tikamas who left somewhere in the middle to say, no, these people are not Marxists, and so on. There seems to be a contestation about whether the EFF has kept to that ideological framework over the 11 years. Anything you can reflect there where there's been that kind of misstep?
Well, the EFF, it can be criticized on anything, but no one has ever even attempted to suggest that we have moved away from the founding manifesto of the EFF, that we have done things that are not left, that are not Marxist, and that they cannot associate with. If they left the EFF because it's not a Marxist enough, it's not Lenin enough, it's not left enough, where are they now? Where they are now, is there anything left that looks left? So it was just political maneuvering, fundraising reasons of why you want to leave. But no policy document of the EFF suggested that we move to a particular direction and abandon our principles. Let's take a principle on borderless Africa. There is this imaginary sponsored attack on the EFF that, we will not vote for them because of they want the borders to be opened and all of that. It can't change. If we are ahead of society, sorry, it's not our problem. Because the borders are not there, and the borders are naturally going to just fade away, and we're going to live together as we're living together now. Ordinary people are already living together now. So we are so backward that ordinary people have taken a lead.
Let's interrogate that a little bit. Don't you think, right, that correct as that position is, I'm sure I agree with that position. I can speak endlessly about the xenophobia, etc. Right? You've just said now that some of your own members, despite that we are Marxist organizations, sometimes get confused about this whole issue about integration, unity of Africa, etc. Don't you think those who are not members could even be even more confused in a way that you package that message? For example, where you just say, well, they must be creative. I'm quoting you verbatim. I don't know what was the context, but where you had said, no, they must be creative. If they have to swim through here, let it be. Then later on, you were clear to say, yes, but they must have documents, which are two different things. Address me on that.
No. They must be creative. It was during COVID, where the workers were locked out of their country. They work here. They've got papers. So I was not saying they must come in
without papers.
Without papers. They are the workers who were asked, please go home. Everybody stay in your houses. We've got this problem. And as the problem is going away, they are refusing to open the gates for those workers, especially the compliant ones who have documents and all of that. That's all I was addressing. But because propaganda is propaganda. They will twist it and create an impression that, no, he said they must flood into here. And then...
What does your own research tell you, though, about whether that issue, right, could actually have cost you votes? You were clear, right? I think you were asked by one of our colleagues that, you know, would you retract that situation in order to get votes? And you said, oh, well, I would rather not have those votes.
There's no research that suggests otherwise. Even if it was suggesting anything of that sort, I won't do it. I would rather go home. I'm not going to agree that I must speak very bad and ill about black people for me to be elected president of South Africa. So it means I will be climbing on top of my people, using them to become what I want to become. Even if I become president, I want to enjoy it, because you want to become the president to help the oppressed masses of our people. Who are the oppressed masses of our people? It's blacks and Africans in particular. The whole continent has got a problem, and it needs a revolutionary leader who's going to lead from the front in determining the liberation of our own continent. So we did not form the EFF for purpose exclusively of elections. EFF was formed with an intention to conscientize the black child, to liberate the arrested mind of an African child. That African child must speak truth to power and must be proud in their blackness, and that they must never apologize and seek to want to be like other people, because we are the best, and our best is demonstrated by the fact that we survive under very difficult circumstances.
Why do you think black consciousness orientated organizations in the context of a new South Africa, say post 94, right, end up in the margins? I mean, look at Azapo. I mean, Azapo had big intellectual giants who could tell you, 10 times the theory you've just told me now,
So do you know what we call ourselves in the EFF? We call each other fighters. What did they call each other in Azapo? Tower. What is a tower?
Are you saying that they're detached?
No, that's what they were saying. They were calling themselves tower. That when they speak, they say we're towering above them. So they enjoy speaking the language no one wants to hear. So, and it lost a mass character. So they were saying they are towering, tower. They were meaning they are above us, and they don't care.
But so, you say the same thing. Only say
I'm not saying
superior logic.
I'm
superior to who?
I'm saying we are so advanced. You see, President Mbeki, we hated him for one thing. He was too ahead of all of us. You can only disagree with him on TV. When he sits here and he unpacks why South Africa must have a female president, we're going to have a female president, out of what President Mbeki would have told us. Because he was ahead of his time. And that's what the EFF is suffering from.
Let me pause. I want to pick that up after the break, because the reason I was asking about this organizations like Azapo ending up as a boutique is that you got a situation where the history of all the small parties, PAC, for example, Azapo, etc., are fading. I want you to tell me straight in my face tonight why the electoral decline when you had been on such an upward trajectory. Look, man, why the electoral decline? I've not had a chance to talk to you about it. After the elections, because we were very busy putting together a new government or not.
So,
why the decline? Your assessment by now should be clear.
We suffered, like all political parties, to the MK. The EFF's numbers look exactly as we know them. We are not where we were in 2014. We got certain numbers in 2014, increased those numbers in 2019. And where that increase came from was in KZN. And that's why in KZN we reduced our members to mere 2 members of the legislature. And in most other provinces we increased our members. So we know where our problem comes from. Our problem is in KZN. Our people were misled and organized on the basis of tribalism and backwardness and lies and in the main. and therefore we are duty bound, and I'm happy I see the public representatives and structures of the EFF province in KZN on the ground, servicing the masses of our people as we prepare to open schools tomorrow and weeks to come, and also leading issues of service delivery. So DFF, it will never be like AZAP or PAC, because what is going to make EFF survive is that it must maintain its mass character. It must have an intimate relationship with the masses.
Yeah.
But in doing so, you don't become the masses. You have to be, as leadership of the EFF, advanced detachment of society, because society sees you as a doctor of society, that when we have problems, the person who's going to heal us is this one. So as a doctor, you have to demonstrate certain qualities that I've got this. So if they lose the mass character and want to become elite, which exists for purposes of elections and to benefit the mere few individuals who have got proximity to the leadership, then it will die a natural death. The EFF can't be killed by individuals like Malema. The EFF can't be killed by anyone except its own members on the ground who will say this is no longer serving its purpose. So
I'll come to that, but I want you to zone in on the MK. Basically, you are saying your problem was MK.
Yes.
MK has chowed your breakfast.
Absolutely. MK took from us in KZN, in Gauteng, where MK got, that's where the EFF votes have declined. It's
my impression that...
And in Mpumalanga.
Yeah, I've got two impressions you may correct. One is that you wanted Zuma to endorse EFF.
Yes.
He refused, he formed his own party.
Yes.
So immediately at that point, am I right to say you didn't think that he was going to propel to such a rapid upward trajectory? In other words, you assumed, right, that he will come in way below EFF and then you'll be able to partner with them. So there was never a dismissal of MK as a potential partner.
Well, we knew that President Zuma is going to form a party after we persuaded him to endorse the EFF. Just imagine if President Zuma had endorsed the EFF, we will be very far, especially when he talks about this unity of political
progressive forces.
You find a progressive party, and then you say, no, I'm going to form another party so that you close your party and join my party. No, we were not saying close anything. We were saying endorse. I even went beyond to say we can then sit down so that you address your concerns with me and say, you know, when you guys take over, the following issues need to be attended to. It was an honest discussion that me and him had.
So what went wrong? Because
no, nothing went wrong. His mind was made up.
In terms of
forming a party. In terms of forming a party, his mind was made up. There was no one who was going to convince him. But one thing that you must all observe, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm happy because I was part of it and I'm no longer part of it, and I can watch it from outside and I laugh at those who are supporting these nonsensical things. Go and look at the videos if you are lazy to read. Go and look at the videos of the people who were with Zuma from the beginning, from when he was accused of rape, from when we made him president. I even dropped a tear at the Union building, and then subsequently we didn't support him. We were saying Malema must be president and all of that. Look at all those people who supported Zuma under those circumstances. Not a single one of them is still with Zuma. So once he uses you, he throws you very far. But there is one person who's always by Zuma, and Zuma has never dropped this person. Is the daughter, Duduzile Zuma.
Yeah, well, suppose naturally.
It's not natural. How would it be natural between me and Ratana? that Ratanan comes and run affairs of the EFF and we say it's natural, you're going to be the first one to talk about you. This is a family trust, Ratanan trust, and all of that. Everybody else has collapsed. Zwelim Kize.
Yeah. So what turns on that? What's that about?
So the point is, everybody else who's running circles around him, they will all become hobos. Watch the space. Because if it's not for his family, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but you knew that when you were saying to him, endorse us. Because then it means that he was going to endorse you and then throw you away.
No. Well, you can't. How do you endorse me and throw me away? I didn't say swallow me. You can throw away what you have swallowed.
He would have used you.
No, I was using him. Endorse me. It was not the other way around, because he's used to being endorsed.
Yeah.
So I said, but this time around,
you endorse us.
Endorse someone else and let it not be about you.
Yeah.
And then
now that you have identified, now that you have identified the MK problem, right, is now your solution to take out the big guns and say this is our enemy. Can you explain that to me from a Marxist perspective?
When you come with a neoliberal agenda to collapse the left organization, you constitute the enemy forces. Why do you want to close the EFF? Why do you go about it the way you are doing it, eating it from within and wanting to finish it? Whose agenda are you pursuing in the finishing of the EFF? It can only be the agenda of white monopoly capital. Let's leave this nonsense that you are uniting black people. You found a party that had structures and machinery everywhere else. If that agenda was exactly that, you would have said, guys, let's go and support the EFF. You cannot undermine Zuma. He's a former president. To be endorsed by a former president doesn't matter whether you like him or not. It's a very bold political statement in your favor. And that's what we wanted. We wanted him to endorse us because we knew he had influence. But we're not going to join the things that are actually led by him, because he's unreliable.
But Julius, you formed the Progressive Caucus. Why? Because you knew Zuma. You know Zuma more than many people. The thing you are describing now, you didn't learn now. When there's tensions, you've known it. You've known his pattern of doing things. But your first action in Parliament was to have a Progressive Caucus with all of the parties there. So
in Parliament, we said we're not going to be part of the GNU, which include DA and Freedom Front. Because these are the people who are advancing the agenda of imperialism, of whiteness. This is an apartheid organizations, and therefore we cannot go sit on the same dinner table with the killers of Chrisan. And we refuse. That is the only point of difference between us and the ANC. They said, come in. Maybe if you come in, the DA is going to walk away. But we knew it was not going to walk away. It was not going to walk away. So, and then we're going to be forced now to be smiling with Helen Zile's Botox everywhere we go. And that becomes now our problem. So we refuse that. Then we said all parties, we didn't say Zuma. We said all parties that are rejecting the GNU of Helen and Ramaphosa come together. And let's agree on issues that are going to be
but you didn't
the minimum
exclude
program.
MK.
Yes.
Despite the neoliberal agenda that you're talking about.
We didn't. We called everyone. The calling was not based on the ideology. It was the requirement was the rejection of the GNU. When you reject GNU, let's constitute a powerful opposition and expose the shenanigans of this DA-led government. So, do you know that we voted with DA here in Johannesburg and everywhere else to remove the corrupt ANC? So it's not much of an alliance between EFF and the DA. We didn't have any alliance. But as a revolutionary who's got a strategy, you must also have the tactics. So you use the tactics to arrive at your strategic
and
objective.
sitting in the GNU with DA would never be considered a tactic?
No, it was not a tactic. So it was a betrayal. You must learn to differentiate betrayal and tactics.
The ANC insists that it was a tactical move, otherwise they would be out of power.
No, they sold out. They were not going to be out of power. The ANC can constitute minority government without any political party voting with them. They can win president of the Republic of South Africa in parliament. It was a sell-out position and they know it. And they will live to regret that decision.
The DA represents, broadly, we may represent white constituents.
Yeah.
Right? In your ideal future for this country, right, where do white people feature?
The white
in
people,
your view, in a context of how this GNU thing is being reasoned, because they're saying, well, let's put everybody together, black and white together, even if we may not agree ideologically, and identify minimum programs that, won't upset either.
The agenda has never been to bring black and white together.
Okay.
The agenda is to bring parties that will defend the interest of white capital together. And once you defend the interest of white capital, you are defending the interest of white people to the exclusion of black people.
Let's zone in.
So you are saying, where is the place of white people in South Africa? In my view, their place is South Africa. They've got no special status of citizenship.
So they are representative of 20%. Is it something that can be ignored? Let's say the EFF,
racist.
The EFF was actually the majority party.
It's actually people who are voting for DA, including ordinary white people, they are racist. How do you vote a party, 80% of you in a ward, 85% of you in a ward, and you call that democracy? That's not democracy, that's racism. People can win 65, 60, 70, but to go beyond 80 in a ward, and then you say you are a party that represents everyone, it's a lie. And no one is calling the DA lie out, and the lie of white people, that you are voting alone on your own. Let's go to the township now. There's no ANC that wins with 80%. We all get a portion, because the society has come to appreciate that there are different political parties. We can belong to different political parties, but the white people have got no such a thing.
I want you to tell me.
They want anything that is white. If it's not white, it's not what they want.
I understand. I want you to address me quickly on nation building, right? My viewers here, as I was coming here, we were saying we want to understand where the EFF stands, etc., to understand the policies and so on, because they are fashioning themselves as a government in waiting. In that government, if it stops waiting and becomes government, right, would white people have a place, and what will that place be? Until 11 years ago, you were part of a movement that gave us our first GNU. That sat with the same de Klerks and Rolf Meyers and who killed our people, right? And we are made to understand there's a tactic. We have to cross the Rubicon. I don't know what word we used of compromise. I mean, we compromised the biggest thing for which the ANC was formed, which was the land, right? And I think there was a general understanding that if we didn't do that, we would still be in the trenches, right? Even people as revolutionary as Chris Hani were not consulted about stopping the armed struggle and so on. In other words, you had to find a way in which you bring the extremes into the center to build a nation. Address me on that. How would the EFF, if you were to, let's say you were the one who got 40%, and you have the responsibility to form government, but you don't have 50, right? How would you go about doing that from a social cohesion point of view?
Look, Mandela didn't need de Klerk for him not to be a racist or to be seen to be racist. He didn't need de Klerk to service even white people. Because you are saying your non-racial policy is not enough for as long as there is no leader who is white from white political parties. We cannot become non-racial when we are joined by a racist called Helen Zille. We are non-racial in our daily lives. The EFF governs. I hear you saying EFF is government in waiting. EFF is government in Ikuruleni. EFF is government in Tshwane. It's government in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
It's government in eThekwini. It's government in Nelson Mandela Metro. Where we govern, we don't look at the color of your skin. We look at service delivery. We don't look at your ideological perspective on Marxism or Lenin or whatever. That applies at a particular level.
Yeah.
Here, we are at the cold phase of servicing our people.
Yeah.
You must ask those white people of Swani that their beans are being collected. Their streets are being collected. Very soon you will not know Marawastad, because the EFF is cleaning that city and restoring the dignity of our people.
Yeah.
We are not going to exist to impress white people. We are going to serve them the same way we serve black communities. We have nothing against white people. All we are saying is, let the services go to everyone and not to the selected few. And the agenda of the DA is to redirect everything to support their whiteness agenda, which perpetuates the apartheid.
But you've already said that the MK party came with a neoliberal agenda, right? Which means that the issue about supporting of white capital, etc., can also come from the black from black parties who are funded. You've also said the small parties that were funded, their millions, etc., were proxies, right, of the white capital. Put that aside a little bit and just address me on nation building, right? How would EFF make all communities, right, rally around building a new society, or even this new democratic society? I just want a little bit of clarity. If a white person is listening now, what should
I'm not concerned about the white person.
No, but
it's not my interest.
You surely are concerned about all citizens.
Yes, I'm concerned about the oppressed.
Be a president
I'm concerned about the oppressed. I've no time for people who are not oppressed. I'm concerned about the oppressed. That's what keeps me.
But don't you need people who are not
up at night?
But don't you need people who are not oppressed, right, to make the others also not be oppressed? In other words, to share in their largesse, to create jobs, to invest if they've got the capacity, etc. Is it not part of those contradictions?
So the nation building under the EFF will be that all apartheid symbols must disappear and go into the dustbin of history.
Okay.
Because you know what is a statue? I don't think a lot of people appreciate what is a statue. You cannot celebrate the murderers of your people by putting their statues in the middle of the cities, because you are continuing to teach the young ones that these people, no matter how bad they are, they are still the heroes.
Yeah.
So we must respect these people. You are saying that without saying it.
Yeah.
So we ought to do away with that. We ought to change the national anthem so that we have one national anthem which will be forced all of us to know it.
Yeah.
White people don't know Nkosi Sikelel Africa. When we sing the national anthem of South Africa, they mumble, and then when the Africans start, they go, their chest is out. You see, because now their national anthem is being sung.
Yeah.
And that one was a national anthem of black people. You are perpetuating the division of society.
So you
by
do
carrying
a completely fresh national anthem
not
for everybody.
The same one of Inot Sontonga.
Yeah, and you remove the Africans.
And we remove the Africans, because the Africans has never been part, this term, not even Africans, this term has never been part of our national anthem. We sang this song saying we're going to liberate this country with this song. It was our prayer. We never prayed with the distem. Distem was sang when our people were being tortured. After beating them up in a Flag Plus, they will braai a meat outside that shack. There were no prisons. They throw them into a shack, braai a meat. And then from there, you are in pain, you're being tortured with the smell of the meat, and then they get drunk and they start singing Distem. So today, with that trauma yourself, you must come and sing that Distem. Ask the Jewish people to sing the Hitler songs and see what's going to happen to you. You won't come back to this show. They will do everything in their power to collapse you. But we are being made to sing Hitler songs because these people did what Hitler did to the Jews, to us. Why are we being forced? So even them.
So symbolism, okay.
So even them,
yes,
they are being spoiled by the fact that we suck up to them.
Yeah.
And white people have got no difficulty to adjust. That's why they came to Africa in the first place. That's why they can live. If a person passes away in their family, they can leave that house and go overseas and start a new life there. They adjust very easily. We don't do that. If we had said this is our national anthem, they will be knowing it by now, because they know there's no any other option.
Yeah.
My son shows me today, what is the code of your driver's license? Or no, I've got learners. Okay, let me see. Then I read this learners things. I want to understand which code is this. They say C2 what? No, I don't understand this language. So, but I see other letters are written this side. Let me check what is written. Maybe it explains this. It's written in Afrikaans.
Yeah.
For what? Why is my son's lessons written in Afrikaans? Because when you give that child a lessons, already you asked that child, which language do you speak? Are spade. If English, we have accepted this colonial language of English that is part of us, that's fine. But why do you give me Afrikaans and not give Afrikaans people spade? We have spoiled them so much that they don't even see the need to participate in nation building. We suck up to them. When it is their sports, rugby, we all rush there. But when it is our sports, we rush alone. We don't go with them. So we need to take very simple decisions that will make all South Africans to be one. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we cannot be one nation without one mission. We need to share the mission. We need to share the vision.
How would you make
together?
How would you make all the communities share that mission?
The way I'm doing it now to you, I'll make them understand, because now you understand. So I'll make these communities to understand, because the white minority does not want people who speak in folk tongues. Yeah. You have to be very clear, and that's where capital as well. Yeah. The second point, which was going to help us build a nation, is to democratize the economy. Yeah. The ownership of the means of production and the ownership of the South African economy should look the same way Parliament of South Africa looks. If that parliament is a reflection of democracy, the economy must look like that.
Is there something in
Johannesburg Stock Exchange must look like our parliament, because for as long as they have more money and more property, it's natural that we are going to submit to them. We ought to empower our own. These special economic zones have to be practicalized and have to be taken to promising cities. Not everything must be done in Johannesburg. We need to re-industrialize South Africa. We need to open industries. We need to beneficiate. There is a city emerging, city potential in Bakersford, where chrome is being mined. People are building beautiful houses, way better than this one, because everybody is participating in the chrome.
In an EFF government, so let me interrupt you there. In an EFF government, right, if you are in national government, right, would you look at issues of public-private partnership?
Absolutely.
Where the private sector is, as we know now, largely big, wide business.
Absolutely. But in pursuing that policy, at the center of the EFF government will be to build a state capacity. Because
so that you can be self-dependent and not overly dependent on private sector.
In the immediate, that's the approach, that we need to partner with the private sector, but build state capacity. Because there's nothing that the private sector can do which the public sector cannot do. When the private sector fails, it always calls on public to intervene. Our government must come in, even when they say they're independent and all of that. So we need not only to partner with the private sector, we need to give some of our assets away to countries that have got capacity to can build a big power station. We've got a problem of power in South Africa. If China says we can do this, we've got coal, we can build a big power station. We say build, operate and transfer. So imagine if Mandela had said in 1994, Chinese, build me a powerful coal power station here, and then after 30 years you hand it over back to government, we will be owning a huge power station now. Because 30 years, don't do agreements of 50 years. That's a generation.
So you're not dismissive of white capital partnering with black. You are simply talking about the fact that they mustn't think they can therefore be dominant and continue as if, you know, there was no 1994.
They must not think they are not black, because they think to be treated the same as everybody else. You are making them black and they don't want to be black. So they must be treated with privilege. There is no one who's going to have a privilege in South Africa. We are South Africans. Why are there lights in the streets of Johannesburg, but there are no street lights in Tembisa? Why? Because these people are under one government. Their president is one. Why are there proper roads where white people stay and you can't find that in black communities? Why are there functional schools and public schools? Because you want to say inherently public things are not nice, are not good. There is a school here
before you go
called
to
Hyde Park Public School here. It's functioning. Sundown Heights Public School is functioning. Parktown is a public school, is functioning, because they are found in the white suburbs, and that's where the services are going. And to our people, services don't go, and we appear like we are not interested.
I want to go to another subject, but before we go to a break quickly, what would then, in summary, be the version of EFF's non-racialism?
You have to empower everyone. We have to make sure that the black people are economically empowered, and we all have the same symbols that represent our country, not symbols that represent two nations in one country.
Flores Chivambu, you formed this thing with him. You guys are more than brothers, friends, comrades, you name it. You lost Dalimpof, who was to be a chairman of your organization. You just recently now have Buisen Ndlozi resign from parliament. Let's start with these two, Floyd and Dali. Be frank with me about what gap that has left in the EFF. What is the impact of the departure of people who are literally co-founders with you in a movement like the EFF?
They have no impact
whatsoever. Nothing. They don't even have a constituency.
No. Did you see that NPA? Did you feel any vacuum? You were there. Did you feel like there's something missing because so and so is not here? This animal is bigger than individuals. They have no impact. What impact will Dalimpofu have?
All right, let's put it this way. Surely they contributed in this 10, 11 years of building.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the role that you can, if you were to write your biography?
No.
And there was a chapter on Floyd and a chapter on Dali. What would summarize those chapters in terms of their contribution?
The heading will be the two betrayers. That will be the heading of the chapter, and that's what I will contribute in that book. The ideas in the EFF are a collective ideas. That anyone, we came up with this idea of forming the EFF. So what? It is insignificant who formed it, who came with the idea and all of that. This thing belongs to the collective. The idea of an individual dwindles into insignificance once a collective decision is taken. So whatever 11 years you want to talk about, it can't be attributed to any individual. But
I think that the reality is, and I want us to really interrogate this a little bit. The reality is the three of you were seen as the faces of the EFF for a long time.
I agree.
In fact, the EFF and yourselves as individual faces were indistinguishable. In other words, although towards the end there was betrayal, as you put it, you can't dismiss the fact that you didn't build the thing alone at the top leadership level.
I've never said that.
Right? Yes, you're correctly saying it was a collective.
I've never said that.
What went wrong? What went wrong? Start with Floyd.
I think you must ask them, really. You are being unfair to me because I also don't know. I want to know.
Even up to now.
No, I spoke to Floyd after the resignation.
Even immediately thereafter.
Immediately, I went to his house, and the reason it was done deliberately.
Yeah.
Ordinarily he should be coming to me, but I said no, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
So I can make him comfortable in his own space,
own home,
so he can speak freely. And I said to him, I'm no longer your president, like you said. You have not renewed the membership.
Yeah.
You have no reason to be scared if you are scared to tell me anything. Then I leaned forward. I asked him, what did I do? He said, no, there was nothing personal. It's a revolutionary decision. No, I'm not asking you to convince you to stay. I want you to tell me what I've done so wrong to you so that I don't repeat it to the next person. I might not be aware that this action is actually offensive.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything. Even the reasons I'm picking up JJ are laughable on the streets. I mean, it's not something that can be repeated in this serious show because they're just jokes. So that's what we are to the movement. We are replaceable. We contribute now and we're important now. When we're done, it's finished. Our term is finished. Our membership is finished. The new leaders are going to emerge. So you're saying Mbuyiseni Ndlozi has resigned from parliament. I got that when I was outside the country on holiday with my wife. When the SG sent it to me, I never had any.
But what's the on Mbuyiseni?
Yeah, so you can't ask me why did he resign, because I never had that discussion.
What was the backstory of him not being at the NPA? Just take us into your confidence today.
But again, you're unfair to me. I told you I was inspecting the learner's license of my son. My oldest son is 18. That's what I'm responsible for, about whereabouts. Yesterday when he passed matric, he said they are going to Kilimanjaro or Manjaro, what in Soweto, that I'm going with you. And then the whole thing flopped because they were like, what is this old man going to do with? I'm also saying, I'm not responsible for Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. I'm not his father. Not his father. Where he was, what was he doing? On this one, I don't know.
On this one, I think you're obfuscating because surely with the kind of organization you are running a tight ship. Let's be frank. You are not running a Mickey Mouse thing. This is a massive organization with 1 million members. Right? And it could be understandable if there was some just ordinary loose member who didn't pitch up for or who was not a delegate. Right? But here you're talking about somebody you have promoted. Just recently, you are pitting him against Panyaza Lusufi, making fun of Panyaza Lusufi. This is incomparable.
You can't compare even now. Even now.
Yeah.
If you
so I can't be convinced.
If you want to question me about the qualities of leadership, let's debate that. Not his whereabouts.
No, I want to debate that. You are not worried about why would you not be worried?
I'm not.
Why?
Stage is a village. Usiboni stage zelo stage ukara sa UN usiboni ka NPA se village dilo dilimo.
So you're not worried that he didn't know when he was.
The leadership of the EFF, which was supposed to be there, was there. So why must I worry?
So he wasn't told not to come to the NPA?
No, there's no such a communication.
He just voluntarily didn't come. So we need to ask him.
You ask him. I don't know.
You have no idea even now.
No, I'm not even interested.
But you have a good relationship with him.
No.
You don't?
No, it ended at that time. We were members.
Was he a victim of Floyd leaving? Let me ask it that way.
Ask him if he's a victim. How do I say someone is a victim? I don't know if he's a victim. I never spoke to Mbuyiseni Ndlozi before the NPA. I never spoke to Mbuyiseni Ndlozi after the NPA. So I don't know his mind as to how is he thinking on this matter.
Are you irritated by the fact that there's a narrative that persists that you are like other leaders in our political spectrum a big man, right? Holomisa has been there for 20 years, I think. Butele is okay. Let me not talk ill of the dead, but Butele was there until the last day, right?
He left with the coffin.
He was 90 something, 92 or something, right? And I can go into the continent, but let's not go there. Let's just talk about here that do you get irritated by being tagged that way to say it looks like EFF will always have this president and that's it. It's a third term of 5 maybe.
You're using what will appear as better example to whoever is listening to you. So, and you are also trying to persuade me differently because you are using bad names.
Yeah.
Why are you not comparing this?
No, but who's bound to Holomisa?
No, I agree, but why are you not comparing it with O.R. Tambo? For how long was O.R. Tambo president
in exile? Come on, this was a different context altogether.
It's not different context.
It is. He was underground.
They were a political party, and they were not in power.
Yeah.
And they had a leader who was leading them consistently.
Yeah.
And what was worse about Tambo is that there was never a conference, except when there were problems. When Christian wrote a letter, they went to Kabwe to go and discuss those concerns of the soldiers. So the same with the IFP leader, Mohamed Mashaba, everyone.
Yes.
They don't go to conferences. I'm not here for 3rd to 5th term. I'm here for this term. I'm being re-elected as a new president of the EFF. And I'm not worried about whoever says what. I'm going to implement the resolutions.
You have a succession plan?
Yes. You know what's the succession plan?
Your next MPA. Is that the succession plan?
The succession plan is that if I die, the deputy president of the EFF takes over. You can't say the same about MK.
Is that your succession plan?
No. Succession means what happens when this person is no longer there.
Yeah.
In MK, is Zuma alone.
Yeah.
If he dies, they're going to kill each other because it is my last term. I've accepted only this term because I've been asked for this term. So as far as I'm concerned,
that's confusing. Is this your last term, or come NPA 4 you will stand again?
No, I don't know if I will be nominated in the NPA 4, but I've never said no to the EFF. Every time it asked me to do something, I do it. So if they ask me, then I will accept and I will do it. But this is my last term. So I'm saving it as if I'm not going to get any chance.
In the 11 years, what battle did you lose as the leader?
I've never lost any. Politics, I lose at home, my lord. But politically, I don't lose. I don't fear nothing. The only person I'm scared of is my wife.
So, I think we must be part of the CT. What is it? Central Command. Yeah, you must be. Your members of the CCT, are they free? And I'm asking you a straightforward question. Are they free to challenge you seriously, right, in those meetings, or are there layers where in certain layers they cannot challenge you, etc.? I just want to deal with the issue of internal democracy once and for all.
So I give a political report. I spoke for 3 hours 45 minutes, if I'm not wrong. From there, I sit down. The whole hall there start interrogating me. That's my input. Remember, that input I give there doesn't come from the collective. It's not like an organizational report. That's me speaking and setting the tone for the conference. So they need to take that report, and you have not built the school, blah, blah, and then this.
I hope you started building that school. It's taking too long.
If you say that we'll build it without approvals of government, if you want us to build it, we can build it. We've got the capacity, the resources to build it. We are being held by government, incompetent Mogale City government, which is not approving our plans. To the Mogale City community of whites are saying there's going to be too much traffic going that way, and then their lives are going to be affected. When they say there's going to be too much traffic, they mean there's going to be too many black people going to that school, so we don't want blacks here.
All right, let's pack
so now the EFF people speak freely. Advocate Mpofu you spoke about was in the EFF. What will stop him from speaking freely? The deputy president, former deputy president Floyd was in the EFF. What will stop him speaking freely? Because they are now heroes. If they can't speak freely, it means they are cowards. What stopped Mbuyiseni Ndlozi to speak freely? They all speak freely. And that's why some of the things that we don't agree with, we can't present our views, we get defeated.
I want, after the break, you tell me 3 things, right, that have come out of your NPA, right, that would reposition the EFF, right, in terms of dealing with all the things we have raised, including electoral decline in KZN, the whole issue about rebuilding and advancing the economic freedom agenda. 3 things that came out. We don't have time to go through it, but we'll talk to your other leaders to unpack what came out of the NPA. I just want 3 strategic things that came out of all that discussion. Give a 3.5-hour report. I think your SG gave it a 4-hour report. I had 7 hours out of there. Dissect it for me and just give me 3 that will say to a viewer who's watching, I can vote for these guys to run this country. 3 things that come out of the MPA, big, as you called it, festival of branches, etc. What came out of there that would reposition you, right? You are now number 4. You used to be number 3, you are number 4. I'm sure you want to reclaim number 1 for that matter in the next round of elections, that is next year and the ones in 2029. What are the 3 things that came out of the MPA that would interest society?
Well, the first thing is that we are going to form a youth command. We're collapsing the EFF student command into a youth command so that we have a dynamic youth organization that is found everywhere else where young people are found. Interest is because the young people are the biggest supporters of the EFF. And for you to change the balance of forces and reclaim the lost grounds, you ought to mobilize this youth and make it understand that the excitement of 29 May will not bring about economic freedom in our lifetime. We need to start emphasizing the issue of the land question again. The expropriation of land without compensation, for industrialization, for beneficiation, for creation of jobs and building state capacity so that our schools and hospitals are appealing to our communities. Internally, we're going to be dissolving all regions and creating the sub-regions because we think the regions create a level of elitism in the organization without any immediate role in relation to the masses on the ground. So we want a structure that will have constant interaction on daily basis with the lower structures on the ground. And a branch of the EFF will not be a branch of EFF if its membership is not from all the voting stations in that particular one. So we are going to rebuild this organization. We're going to defend it and we're going to fight for the unemployed.
Let's interrogate this one of youth. EFF by its nature is very youthful. If you look at its leadership, etc. I mean, forget about the fact that you were probably left with half of the youth league when you formed 11 years ago, right? Why do you think that in a sense, so far you haven't penetrated the youth market, right, to boost your electoral fortunes? What was the gap? Was the gap that student command was called student command and not youth command?
No, the gap was that you don't have a specific appealing programs on the people that should ordinarily support you. Their support must come naturally. So we're going to have a focused program that is going to galvanize and agitate young people. And if we say we don't have such, then we must know that we're actually going to become irrelevant. I mean, I'm 42 years old now. I might be coming from the youth league, but there are new dynamics of young people that I might not be aware of. So you need the young people who are going to appeal to those young people, who are going to speak to them in their language. Because if I go amongst young people and I say, yo, my man, what's up? Old man, ureno. It's not appealing, but if it's repeated by their peer, they're like, hey, what's up, my guy? And then they give him attention. So you need a focused program on the youth. That's why even now on schools.
What came out of the NPA that would excite the young people? I mean, was this something that was discussed there?
This EFF excite young people. Is the only political party that makes sense to young people. That's why even in the universities, when there are SRC elections, the young people will choose ordinarily the EFF because they know that this is our party. So we want to fight youth unemployment. We want to fight the exclusion of young people at schools. So we've started tomorrow. Each and every gate of high school in South Africa will have fighters on the ground, making sure that children are allowed inside the school, even when they don't have money.
How do you fight unemployment? Yes, youth unemployment is 68%, and that's been your criticism of the ANC government for the last 11 years, right? So how would you fight, if you were to be in power, how would you fight unemployment? Because you'll find that there doesn't seem to be great ideas about how to turn that tide.
You just look at what is happening, the contribution to our GDP. If you look at manufacturing, it has declined. And once manufacturing declines, it means you are deindustrializing, meaning you are closing factories. So how are we going to create jobs when you are closing factories? So we need to industrialize in South Africa and produce the simplest things that we use on daily basis. There's a plastic, this thing, that product, a byproduct that they produce there at Sasol, that is used to produce plastic. There's no family that has never gone through Vascom, plastic, but it's not produced here, but the product is from here. We take the product to China, it comes with finished goods. We don't produce toothpicks, we don't produce matchsticks. So, and then you hope to create jobs. The infrastructure is deteriorating in front of our eyes. You have always known there is a road here, there is a bridge here. Once it gets washed away by the rain, there are no means to engage in that.
That sounds fine.
So you ought to engage in government infrastructural programs that are going to be labor intensive and hire as many young people as possible.
That sounds fine, but what interventions have you made legislatively in the 11 years that you have been part of legislatures to make that a reality?
One of the things we proposed in the legislature was the cancellation of student debt, because we said these young people can't get their results and go and find jobs because they are owing a university. We need to pass a law that says everyone who owns the university, that must be cancelled. The ANC rejected it. We said, let's insource all the workers who are working for private companies that are providing service to government, which means the security guards, the cleaners, and any other caterers, any other person who works in government but through a particular company. Let's get rid of that. And once you remove a middleman, you realize you are remaining with a lot of money, because a lot of money was going to a middleman. And through that, you are able to create more jobs and hire people directly as government of the Republic of South Africa. So we also have to make sure that we industrialize through beneficiation, that we as government must drive. We must say a particular percentage of minerals will never leave this country as raw material. They are going to be processed here. That's how you create jobs. So, and those interventions we have made.
But there's been EFF's contribution to dealing with the SETA landscape, because at least there seems to be a lot of wastage there.
Well, SETA is involved with those ANC deployed cadres who have no idea what they are doing. And we have a responsibility, once we are in, to deploy the most capable, irrespective of color, irrespective of membership qualification, but as long as you've got what it takes to turn SETA around, because it's very important, SETA, in developing our people and making sure that by the time they go into a job market, they're equipped with the necessary skill. So the EFF will make sure that that sector functions very well.
Let's talk about the land issue, right? All whatever black parties or progressive, whatever you can call it, in the 6th parliament failed to get the constitution changed, right, in order to progress this land debate. How are we going to progress this land debate?
We are going to have to go through the constitution to amend it and make the land to be expropriated without compensation. The dynamics have changed.
Looks like you're going to have to win the elections first.
No. The dynamics have changed. Remember, in the 6th parliament, even with the ANC having a majority numbers, we managed to put this thing. And just on the eve, for sure, Rupert gave them a call and then there was a problem. Just on the eve, they put some useless disclaimer which was undermining the whole amendment, and we said we are no longer part of that. We didn't win elections, but we almost won this debate. Now the dynamics have changed. Numbers are no longer numbering from all sectors. Everybody needs everybody. We have to retable that afresh and take advantage of the new dynamics and amend the constitution to expropriate land without compensation. We don't have to win. We don't have to win elections. We have to use a superior logic to appeal to those who disagree with us. The Progressive Caucus, for instance,
that brings me to the Progressive Caucus.
Party in that Progressive Caucus agrees that land must be expropriated without compensation. And there will be many others who are in the GNU for positions. But when it comes to this matter of expropriation of land without compensation, they may agree with us. So you don't get demoralized because you lost a debate once in politics. The good thing with politics is that you are allowed to repeat. You can repeat yourself as many times as you want until that which you stand for gets to be achieved. So
are you going to revisit this issue of unity, progressive unity, black unity, whatever you want to call it, in order to achieve this goal? Because you may not separate these things. If you are warring with each other, how are you going to, in a sense, coalesce on the land issue?
There is no party called Progressive Caucus. It's called Caucus. So
you are the ones who call it progressive.
So they come together as political parties and agree to pursue a particular agenda or agree to disagree on a particular agenda. It doesn't matter that because we are let's say.
So you're saying it's issue based.
It's issue based. Even the charter is issue based. Let's say the DA wants to vote with us on the Phala question. Bring him back Phala to Parliament, and the DA says, bring it back, we'll vote with you. And then you are going to say, you and Helen Zille, you don't agree, you don't share the same perspective. How are you going to agree on Phala? We agreed with DA even when we not agree on Phala. Why should it be different with Zuma? When we disagree with Zuma, it means we're going to disagree even on matters that we agree on. Our agreement with Helen on Phala never made her our friend. She remained our enemy. But we used her to achieve the objective of holding the executive accountable.
Local governments that you've been involved in, like Joburg, ended up in shambles. The last time we had a conversation, you scolded me for saying, but the mayor you've put there is not your best foot forward. Right? And you know what has happened. It's all now fallen apart. You now have an ANC mayor. Why should people trust that you will run local government not to the ground, but build it up? Let's go
to Johannesburg that you spoke about. We've got two departments. Public safety, which is responsible amongst others, GMPD, as it collapsed since we took it over, is actually in a much more better shape. We've got a Department of Health. Has it collapsed? No. It actually opened the first clinic that is going to operate 24 hours as a model that needs to be followed by everyone, which is what we proposed in Parliament through legislature, that Parliament must pass a law that all the clinics must open 24 hours. They refused. ANC rejected it. But we used this smaller power nyana we have to open one clinic to show the whole of South Africa that this thing is possible. Nothing has collapsed. We've been in government in Ikurule. Nothing has collapsed. We are responsible for the finances of Nelson Mandela.
MMC at Ikurule was fired.
Yeah, because the fools were threatened by him. When ANC people fight their own internal dynamics and they want to satisfy themselves by changing.
But he was fighting with the Auditor General. Auditor General said your books are in shambles. And he was fighting with
he never fought with Auditor General. That doctor had an uncontrollable ambition to take over that municipality. And
we talk about the mayor, the current mayor.
The mayor, yeah, to take that municipality and have their caucus group running that municipality. So the mayor, there was no problem. The audit came out. There was nothing wrong.
Before we go, cutting short, the school that is an albatross now, what is the new promise? When will that school be operational?
Well, we are waiting for the approvals. We are fighting every day. We want to start. We want to start building.
You are ready to build
now.
We have money to build the whole thing.
We may not have the money, but we have the heart. You can't have the money before you have the heart. You must have the heart.
Julius Malema.